Hello, everybody. I hope you all had a wonderful work week. Well, as LL Cool J might say, don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. Paid advertising, don't call it a comeback. It's been here for years. It's alive and well. Different forms of it, by the way, might be growing faster than any other method of paid marketing. So Magna, the media research firm, and GroupM, the media agency, are both wrapping up big holiday prediction gifts for the advertising industry, both predicting good growth numbers for digital advertising in the year to come, and especially with our political season upon us. But maybe the biggest news, the rise of retail media networks. Yeah, a relative newcomer in all of this paid media, and maybe the biggest thing since, search advertising. Yeah, really. Our take? If you're in B2B, you might think, this doesn't relate to me. But it does. You want to know more? And why? Well, this is 5 minutes of what you need to lead in marketing. Let's roll. Hello, everybody. Robert Rose here with the content and marketing news. It is what's new, but more importantly, you get the drill by now. It's what's important in our world of marketing. And for the best and best practices, head on over to contentmarketinginstitute.com. So as we get closer to wrapping up yet another year, it seems that the tales of the slow death of paid media, commonly known as advertising, well, it not only survives another year, but is thriving. GroupM, the big media agency, has just come out with their point of view on advertising growth and said that digital advertising revenue will grow by about 5.8% or $889 billion this year. Now, that's excluding political advertising. Now, they've been predicting this level for some time this year, and they're quite, it's consistent on their prediction. But I think it's interesting that the feeling of the ad slump has been there all year, even though it just feels like it's not actually coming to pass. Now, to be clear, just about everybody's also predicting good, but maybe a mixed picture in the coming year. So Magna, the media research firm, also believes that ad revenues will tick up about 5.5% this year to $853 billion, then jump a whopping 7.2% in 2024. But Zenith Media, well, they were a little more modest in their 24 predictions, saying they're looking at 4.8% growth in 2024. Well, whether it's 7.5, 5.5, 4.8, it basically, any way you slice it, paid media and paid advertising not only survived 2023, it is thriving and looks to be even bigger in 2024. But the bigger news here, and certainly much more interesting, is the rise of retail media networks. All of the media agencies and research firms are showing that retail media networks, though the smallest segment of paid advertising, will be and maybe is the fastest growing and truly important of all of the digital advertising formats. GroupM is suggesting that it will be $119 billion paid through retail media networks just this year. That should grow by a whopping 8.3% in the coming year. Magna is estimating around $124 billion in ad revenues through retail media networks this year. Think about that for a minute. Outside of China, retail media networks are now almost a quarter of total search advertising. Now, if you're sitting there and saying, wait a minute, Robert, what are you talking about? What are these retail media networks? Well, you wouldn't be alone, by the way. This is a fairly quiet thing, unless you're in sort of B2C consumer packaged goods. You might not be familiar with what's going on here, but you do need to start paying attention to this in the year to come. So retail media networks are, at their very basic sense, advertising platforms within the retailer's network. Think about it like this. If you spend money on product keywords on Amazon.com or Walmart.com or Instacart against your product, that is participating in a retail media network. It is search advertising on the retailer's e-commerce store. But here's the thing. It's also not just search advertising. It's also everything from mini websites to videos to content marketing as well. Retailers are now creating the ability to create paid advertising or paid placement of content and media, even paid stores within stores, or even content marketing hubs within their e-commerce stores. Right now, the retail media networks include Amazon.com and Walmart and Kroger and Target and eBay and Instacart and Best Buy, Costco, all of these companies where there are e-commerce stores, but there are many, many more growing very quickly here. It's becoming very popular. And they're not just online either. That's certainly the biggest share, but there's also in-store, on-location media networks, interactive kiosks, in-store TV, new formats rising every single day. And if you think about it, it makes sense, right? These retailers are taking advantage of their ability to know their customers, where and why they're shopping, their presence on their content network, and present them with offers and content that are relevant to their needs. It's the old idea of slotting in the grocery store. We're paying for the privilege of getting our message in front of shoppers. This is truly the retailer starting to use their content as a media company would, knowing that their customers are also audiences and will trust them to provide valuable information. So, that brings up two things that I'd like you to think about as you enter 2024 and beyond. The first is a question. Should you be thinking about retail media networks as a place for your product or service? Well, you should, and especially if you're in B2C or consumer packaged goods or some sort of format where you can buy your thing through these stores. One of the reasons, however, that advertising works is also the idea of brand. You see, right now, retail media networks are thought of in a way that is deep in that buyer's journey, taking advantage of the consumer's presence in a store in order to try and cross-sell more merchandise as they're in that store, or become the first and prioritized chosen provider of that thing. In other words, if I'm advertising right now on Amazon's retail network, and I mean me personally, well, it's because I know a customer is coming for business books, and they'll do searches for those things. And I want to create an ad so if they search for content marketing, for example, that my book appears first in line. But one of the main benefits, of course, of the advertising is that brand halo effect that we get from the audience platform that we're on. For example, the reason that I would want a full-page ad on the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal is because, well, I get a bit of trust and a brand halo around being on the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal. I think increasingly we're going to start to see more and more smart marketing teams, brand teams, use brand level experiences in these retail media networks, not simply because they're looking for an effective and immediate shopping experience, but because they can start to put some of those brand content experiences on a trusted media network like Amazon or Nordstrom or eBay or Instacart. That brings us to the second piece of this, which I think will come. It's not quite here yet, but I do believe we may start to see, and that is, where is the retail media network but for B2B? I think there's soon going to be an opportunity to start doing more and more brand and deep journey advertising, paid media on B2B content platforms. That's something to really keep in mind if you're, by the way, a provider of such things or a buyer of such things. This is already a thing for B2B when it comes to things like content syndication networks like Netline or Business to Community and others. But now the astronomical growth, for instance, of Amazon's B2B marketplace, which has grown to be a $35 billion business this year, I think we're going to start to see similar trends start to emerge for marketing through these types of platforms. If I were Adobe or Microsoft or Salesforce Plus platform or HubSpot and all of their content platforms, well, you can bet that one of the first places that I'd look to monetize these platforms, these content marketing platforms, is by providing the ability to have paid sponsorship of content, either as advertising or sponsored content on those platforms. Limited to partners? Maybe. Limited to people who integrate with our solutions? Maybe. Limited to just those that are non-competitive? Maybe. But as you start thinking about creative ways to utilize your paid spend, think about this as a kind of opportunity. And well, yeah, that's it. Pay for that privilege of being on somebody else's network. That's 5 minutes of what you need to lead in marketing. And remember, it's your story to tell. Maybe you will pay for it somewhere else, but make sure to tell it well wherever you tell it. I'll see you next week.